Yesterday, JD Vance was on with Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation, and I want to talk about it. I'm going to play one continuous clip, but I'm going to break it into two, and we're going to talk about this. The Republican Party for years and decades, generations, has been the party of white supremacy. And there will invariably be trolls in the comments who say, oh, the KKK was the Democrats. Yes, that is true. The Democratic Party has a long history of vile racism and bigotry, and there was a party realignment that took place. If you'd like to learn more about that, I've done multiple dedicated videos on the Southern strategy and how the party switched. And it was a method undertaken by, a strategy undertaken by Republicans to win back racist whites in the South. You could look up Lee Atwater. The information is there. I'm just getting ahead of it in the comments because it's going to be there. And he was asked specifically about the hate that is coming the way of his family, to his family, from members of the right. And I want you to notice the wiggle room, the wiggly language, the slippery language he uses, trying to pivot on this matter and act like it's Democrats today that are actually ginning up the hate and the division because of things like aid to black farmers and affirmative action programs and equity programs in government. He's acting as though his wife is being threatened and maligned because of her race, because of her ethnicity. And he's acting as though that's because of the Democrats, even though it's coming exclusively from Nazis, neo-Nazis, white separatists, white nationalists, and people like Nick Fuentes. Anyway, here's the first clip, and then we'll talk about it and then move on.
So you have a very young family.
I do.
You have a very accomplished wife. Usha, who she went to.
I'm very proud of her.
Yes, Yale, Cambridge. She clerked at the Supreme Court. We heard her on stage at the RNC. You gave a recent interview to Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
And you spoke about white supremacists attacking your family.
Sure.
Because she's not a white person. How concerned are you that this kind of hate would follow you to the White House?
Well, look, it's going to follow us wherever we go because that's the nature of public life in America, and it's disgraceful. Look, I love my wife. I'm very proud of her. I'm extremely lucky to have met her and to have gotten the chance to build a life with her. And my attitude on this is if people want to attack me, attack my policy views, they're welcome to. I signed up for it. My wife didn't sign up for it. And by the way, she's way out of their league, the people who are attacking her. So I wish they would just keep their mouths shut or at least focus on me. But look, it's the nature of public life in this country. My wife's pretty tough and she knows what we signed up for.
I imagine it's hard to keep your temper when you hear things like that.
Yeah, I get pissed off sometimes, certainly.
Yeah.
When people attack your family, and certainly attack your family for something that no person can control. And I do think that there's been this thing in America where we've said that we should judge people based on their skin color, based on their immutable characteristics, based on things that they can't control. I frankly think that, unfortunately, a lot of people on the left have leaned into this by trying to categorize people by skin color and then give special benefits or special amounts of discrimination. The Harris administration, for example, handed out farm benefits to people based on skin color. I think that's disgraceful. I don't think we should say you get farm benefits if you're a black farmer, you don't get farm benefits if you're a white farmer. All farmers, we want to thrive, and that's certainly the President Trump and JD Vance view of the situation. But I do think, unfortunately, when our leaders divide us by race, you're going to have hate on the left side of the political spectrum, you're going to have hate on the right side of the political spectrum. We should just judge people based on individual characteristics and based on merit, and that's certainly what President Trump and I want to do.
But that wasn't born in the last 4 years. I mean,
not at all. But I think that President Biden and Harris have certainly accelerated it. I don't think you've seen anything like what we've seen from Kamala Harris when it comes to handing out government benefits based on people's immutable characteristics. The actual legal enshrinement of discrimination in this country, we haven't seen anything like it in the last 30 or 40 years. Certainly back in the 60s and 50s, we all look at that as a period that we wanted to get away from, and in some ways the Harris administration has re-implemented it. I think it's pretty disgraceful.
So he's going with the all farmers matter line. Great, JD. Let's just completely ignore what that program does, which is reverse the inequities that black farmers have faced in this country for generations, for centuries maybe, certainly spanning multiple centuries, that they couldn't get loans, they couldn't get support from a system that boxed them out specifically because of the color of their skin, because of the pigmentation of their skin. They were excluded from success, while white farmers were not. That's what we're talking about, JD Vance. Now, let's address this. This is just public life. This is what you come to expect when you're in public life. The nature of public life in this country, he said. It's not the nature of public life in this country. It's the nature of dealing with Republican threats, of Republican white supremacy. Who, pray tell, JD Vance, are those people going to be voting for this November? Who have they pledged their undying allegiance to? I'll give you a moment. It's Donald Trump. They're not caping for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. They're not going to be at the Democratic National Convention pledging their delegates, pledging their support to the Democratic ticket. They're here for you, JD Vance, and they're angered that the vice president on the Republican ticket has a brown wife. That's what they don't like. So to try to obfuscate and distract with all of this other nonsense and bullshit about how Democrats have fostered the system. Democrats have done nothing of the sort relative to ginning up hatred for your family, that you aren't even adult enough to defend your wife against. This tepid bullshit nonsense. Yeah, I get pissed off sometimes. No, you don't. Otherwise, you would go out there in a full-throated manner and say, this must stop. You would pressure Donald Trump to do the same, but you don't, because you want them tasty votes. The interview continues, where Margaret Brennan actually does a great pivot here, talking about the fact that the support for these types of hateful ideologies and messages to JD Vance, they're being initiated by, inspired by people like Nick Fuentes, who was an invited guest of Donald Trump at dinner at his home. Watch this.
In your own movement, that's what I want to ask about, because one of the supremacists who was saying things like this about your family,
Yeah.
Nick Fuentes, an avowed anti-Semite,
Sure.
went after your wife. He had previously dined at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump. Does this have any room in your movement, in the MAGA movement?
Of course it doesn't have any room in the MAGA movement, and of course...
You disavow him and this.
And of course Donald Trump has criticized this person. Look, I think the guy's a total loser. Certainly I disavow him, but if you ask me what I care more about, is it a person attacking me personally, or is it government policy that discriminates based on race? That's what I really worry about.
You don't worry about Donald Trump inviting a white supremacist who has communicated his love and adoration for Adolf Hitler, invited him into his home, supped with him, had dinner with him. But no, it's black farmers getting money from the government. That is what is is the burr under the saddle of JD Vance. Black people, they've had it too good for too long as far as JD Vance is concerned. But it's okay that little Nazi puke, Nick Fuentes, was a valorized guest at dinner of the former president of the United States, a man who you, JD Vance, have called America's Hitler. Does it not give anybody pause that the man that JD Vance called America's Hitler invited someone who loves Hitler to dinner to communicate about what? Policy? To tell you better stop that? I mean, what? Come on. The projection is just sickening and obvious, and you're failing. You're not even doing it well, JD Vance. It's because America largely is onto you. We know that you're trying to both sides this nonsense, just like Donald Trump tried to both sides the death, the murder of Heather Heyer in Charlottesville. Gross. Anyway, what do you think about this? You can comment below. have a conversation there, that would be fantastic. You can also call, leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me as always daily at dollemore.com. I'd appreciate it very much. Hey, Brittany Page did a video. I talked about this in my first video and then forgot to open this video with it. But Brittany Page did a video that's going to post here, I think at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And it is brilliant about an answer that Donald Trump gave. Well, an answer Donald Trump gave to this biker, this Trump-supporting biker in Sturgis who asked about what Donald Trump specifically going to do to help with housing costs, the unaffordability crisis in housing. And this video is amazing, and you should check it out. Anyway, follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore everywhere. I'd love to see you there. And I will see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.